1970s, a young priest came here to the John Rigby College in Wigan to be their new chaplain. It was his first job. That plain-speaking northern lad went on to become Archbishop of Westminster. And now, as a newly appointed cardinal, he'll have a hand in choosing the next pope. We take Cardinal Vincent Nichols on a trip back in time to share his vision for the Catholic Church. Our hymns and songs come from St Oswald and St Edmund Arrowsmith, where our new church detective discovers a precious relic, and singer Laurie Ashworth performs. I'm in Liverpool, not far from where Vincent Nichols was born in 1945. Fast forward a few decades, and he's now the leader of the Roman Catholic Church in England and Wales. He's come here for a short visit, and I've come to take him to the nearby town where his ministry began. We're off to Wigan. Here's our taxi.
Good.
Well, we're on our way now to the sixth form college in Wigan, where you had your first job.
It is. I arrived at about 4:45, which was a very bad time because 600 teenagers were coming out and I was trying to go in. And I thought, what on earth have I come to? Never had a full-time chaplain before, so I didn't really know what to do all day. But eventually I came up with a kind of job description, and it was very simple. I was there to loiter with intent, just to walk with people, just to accompany them a bit. And I think that's a very important theme in the ministry of any Catholic priest. And quite a lot of these students are still in touch with me today.
Can I take you back now to the point that led to the decision that actually took you to that school, which is why you became a priest?
Well, I can remember on a number of occasions being at Anfield, watching Liverpool play and just really shouting at God, saying, would you please leave me alone? I don't want to do this. I just want to be one of the crowd. I don't want this sense of having to step apart and do something different. So I remember, for example, my elder brother Peter, on the night before I was to be ordained a priest, and we were sitting in a hotel near the college in Rome, and he said to me, what are you getting ordained a priest for? So I said, well, Peter, it's a bit late to ask that question, like it's in the morning. And I said, well, because I think it makes sense of who I know myself to be. So it's that defining sense of purpose that I think you have in life. But I must admit, I would never regret it. I mean, it has actually been, I suspect, the one thing in life that has really made me happy, really deeply content, and deeply content being a priest. It's rightful.
As the college prepares to welcome its old chaplain, we'll be back later to find out how the Cardinal tackles questions from today's students. But now for our first hymn from St Oswald and St Edmund Arrowsmith Church, just up the road. Think of Wigan and you might think of Wigan Pier. Of course, there's no coastline here and no obvious pier. The origin of the phrase is a matter of debate. The pier was probably a simple wooden jetty used to load coal from a nearby colliery. According to folklore, someone looking out of a train to Southport saw it and said, "Where are we?" and was told, "Wigan Pier." For some reason, the joke stuck. Then in 1937, George Orwell wrote this book, The Road to Wigan Pier. Fairly brutal look at the working class communities of Britain in the 1930s, particularly those affected by the coal industry. Orwell writes of his fondness for Wigan, disappointed only that Wigan Pier has been demolished, and even the spot where it used to stand is no longer certain. Wiganers are known as pie eaters. Once again, nobody knows why for sure. Hello. One theory dates back to 1926 when a general strike brought the country to a standstill. In Wigan, the collieries were said to have starved the men back down the pit. With no money and nothing to eat, the workers were forced to eat humble pie. And so the tale goes, they've been known as pie eaters ever since. Ooh. The legacy of the coal mining industry is felt everywhere around here. A century ago, Lancashire's pits produced 26 million tonnes of coal each year. Now there's just one colliery left in the whole of Lancashire, here at Astley Green, and even it's closed. It stands as a museum to the industry, an industry fraught with danger. And Wigan was the site of a major disaster in 1979. A gas explosion at Golborne Colliery killed 10 miners. Engineer Eric Foster was there.
We was working that Sunday morning, me and my colleagues, and all of a sudden we heard this tremendous thud. I was at the pit bottom at the time. We realised that when the smoke coming towards us, we saw that morning there could be fire behind it, flames. So we dove into where our tool boxes were, and pandemonium broke out. From then on we went in and tried to get the men out. When we got to the area where the explosion was, this huge girder was across the tunnel, so we had to physically push it back in the tunnel while we got the man riders ready to bring the men out.
The 11 men were working on electrical switchgear and ventilation equipment, and then at 11:25, methane, which had built up in the tunnel, suddenly ignited.
And you lost 10 colleagues?
10 men, yeah, and one was a good friend. You know, one electrician was always laughing.
The Golborne Colliery is long gone and the site now contains business units. But this community doesn't want Wigan families to forget those who braved the coal mines. Members of the community have gathered in a procession to remember those who lost their lives in Golborne. For Eric, his faith continues to help, as it did on the day of the tragedy.
Some lads were killed outright, some was in hospital, and the least I could do was go and say my prayers for them. You think of the lads, don't you? Who you knew and what you did, and you do get overcome by it.